Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and 1 year ago today, we arrived in Paldea! That's right, on this day, exactly 1 year ago today, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet arrived worldwide. We started Generation 9, and we also began our enrollment in 2 different academies in the Paldea region. It's crazy to think that it's 1 year later. Well, you know what they say, time really flies when you're playing games. Back on Pokemon Day 2022, when it was announced that Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet were coming out, like many of you, I was so excited! I could not wait for Generation 9 and a brand new Core Series game. However, if I am to be honest, I will say that I was a little bit skeptical at first. Mainly because, well, Pokemon Legends Arceus was brand new at the time and it had just come out less than a month ago, so I didn't know if Pokemon could pull it off. But, looking back now, I'm really happy to say not only did Pokemon pull it off, they really went the extra mile. So, thank you Pokemon Company, and thank you Game Freak. When playing the games a year later, I have to say I'm really proud of the Paldea region for trying to be different from the rest. I really like that there wasn't just one normal story to go by, there was 3 stories. While you had to complete them all, it was your choice of how you wanted to do it. Also, I really have to say, I like that not only did we get starter Pokemon to begin our journey, but I also felt that with Miraidon and Koraidon, they acted as a secondary partner. And I know that we were on a treasure hunt, but I will have to say that out of all the treasure I found, Miraidon and Koraidon were my treasure. Since we rode on both Koraidon and Miraidon in both of our games, I have to say, not only did they feel like a secondary partner, they felt like something that the game just would never be complete without. And for those of you who may have gone throughout the whole region without riding on them, that's fine too. I just think that having these Pokemon not only to ride on, but always by your side is what really made the game so much different. Not just did we have starter Pokemon as partners, but we had motorcycle dragons as well as partners. What made the story of Scarlet and Violet so much different is that instead of just being trainers, we were students at an academy, which had never been done before. Kind of funny that with how many games and anime involve school, Pokemon had never really gone that route before. Well, I'm happy to say that they did it, and it was a really smart idea. What I also felt was really cool about this game is we got to make friends. While we didn't have anything that we could use to make calls to them, I really still felt that they all played significant roles to the story. Like Mr. Clavel, the first friend we ever made in Paldea, who also gave us our starter Pokemon, and the game just would not be the same without him, especially during Starfall Street. Then of course we have Arvin, who was one of the greatest cooks ever and had probably the saddest backstory ever, not just with his parents, but also with his lovely Mabushtif. Who didn't love that poor little Mabushtif and wanted it to live? Of course, then we had Penny, who was that crafty girl and that huge mastermind behind Team Star. But of course, I think the most memorable character in the entire game is Nemona, the battle-loving girl who would never take no for an answer. Honestly, she could be annoying, or she could be a lot of fun. Now, when I talk about the gameplay of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I just want you to know that I'm talking about a lot of things. But one thing that I really do love about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is not just the whole Paldea region, but I really thought that this was the first game that really made you feel how huge the region was. After all, there was nothing to hold you back. There was no limited space. You could go wherever you wanted on your feet or with Miraidon and Koraidon. This was the first time since Pokemon Legends Arceus where I truly felt that the region was as vast as they oftentimes say when the game opens. I really love the characters that we got to interact with upon our journey in Paldea. Nemona, Arvin, and Penny were really there for us throughout the whole game, and I really liked the stories that they told. I really think that this game did a great job fleshing out 3 different stories. In my honest opinion, Nemona was a huge highlight of the game. She could be annoying at times, but I really did like that if you battled her and even if you lost, it did not affect the story whatsoever. I also really enjoyed taking on all the gym leaders, and even though she didn't always follow us everywhere, I really do feel like Nemona kind of was with us every step of the journey. Even though she completed hers to begin with before us, it really was nice to have someone who really was there by your side and wasn't a really brooding or hard rival. Penny was also a huge highlight of the game. While she started off as a timid and shy schoolgirl, she finally showed us her true colors when she came out as the real boss of Team Star. Not only did she have a really good battle with all the evolutions, but she probably dropped the sickest beat when you had to take her on. This is a person who not only really knows how to hide good surprises, but also knows how to pull them off well. It's been a while since we've had any good twists in the world of Pokemon. I'm glad to say this was another good one of them. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, as well as Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I happen to really like taking on Totem Pokemon, so I'm kind of glad that they brought this back for Arven's journey of the Path of Legend. I will also say for the fact that the story of trying to save his Mabushjiff really did tug at my heartstrings. So I'm glad that not only did we take on Totem Pokemon, we took them on for a good cause. And he also was a good friend as well as a great cook, even though I don't think any of us ever got to eat one of those sandwiches. But out of everything that Scarlet and Violet did that I liked, I think the thing that I love the most about these games is the music. I also really love the subtle change that happened when you would ride Miraidon and Koraidon and when you would get off. But almost every town, every province, every city, everywhere you went to had amazing music. In fact, I would sometimes stop dead in my tracks and just listen to the music just for a little bit. There was so much good that they did here, and I really think that they went all out, especially having some beautiful Spanish music in a Pokemon game. Now I'm going to look at things I did not really enjoy about the game. I'm going to start off with the Terastal phenomenon. Well, I do think it was an interesting gimmick for Generation 9. I found it a little underwhelming. Though I will say there were some gym leaders who knew how to use the Terastal phenomenon and make themselves dangerous. I just never felt it was a really cool gimmick. I think that it could have been improved in different ways. But looking at some Pokemon that were introduced in the Paldea region, like Toedscool, Toedscruel, as well as Wiglet and Wigtrio, I think this is how the Terastal phenomenon could have been a little better. What if instead of using your Terra Orb to turn these Pokemon into a whole new typing, you also made them a completely different species as well? Like, picture you're in a battle and you're using a Diglett as well as a Tentacool, but you want to change their typings. So, you use your Terra Orb and you turn Tentacool into Toedscruel. Or, you could do the same thing and turn Diglett into Wiglet. Not just giving them new typings, but also turning them into a completely different species. I also somewhat am not a huge fan of the ending of Scarlet and Violet, especially with that final battle against Robosada or Roboturo, whichever game you play. I just feel that that plot just came out of nowhere. Well, yeah, it was finally time to meet Sada and Turo after the whole adventure. I just feel that the idea of why they're a robot and that the other one passed away just doesn't make sense, especially with the idea of the time machine. Like, where did that even come from? No one talked about time travel once in this whole game. The idea just, poof, here it is. I also feel that the timing of when Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out was a little bit rushed as well. After all, a lot of people complain about all the glitches. Well, if you really think about it, the game came out very shortly after Pokemon Legends Arceus came out. I think it would have been better if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out in January 2023, or maybe around now of November 2023. But still, a lot of us were still excited to get to Generation 9, and when it came out, was a pretty good time. Probably my biggest complaint is the villains in this game. Team Star was okay, but I don't think that they were a good villainous team. In fact, I don't think they did really anything villainous at all. If anything, I think the only villainous thing they were just a bunch of bullies at school. I would also say that I found all the Team Star bosses rather underwhelming. However, I will say that they all had really cool outfits, and I like that they all specialized in a single typing. I will still always say that it was rather underwhelming fights, just taking on the Team Star mobile. But what really makes this the most underwhelming thing is that all the bosses are not after something important. It's not like they're trying to take over the world or find a legendary Pokemon. They're just there and just saying, we're the boss. I kind of miss the days where you took on a boss because you were trying to save the world. All in all, and all things considered, I think that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are very solid entries in the Pokemon series. I would not say that they're bad, I wouldn't say that they're the best either, but they were really fun games. And if you want to try them out again, I think that you should give them a play 1 year later. go on another fun adventure, or maybe do things that you haven't done before in the game. Try doing stuff in different orders, or, look around the game and do something that could be a lot of fun. It's your adventure, and what makes this game a lot of fun is there's nothing to hold you back. Go on your Paldean adventure, go on a treasure hunt, and find your treasure. Well, 1 year later, and these are my honest thoughts about the Paldea region of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But I'm kind of curious to know from you trainers of what you thought about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Do you think that the Paldea region perfected the whole free-roaming thing that Pokemon Legends Arceus started, or do you think that there's still more room for improvement? When it comes to Paradox Pokemon, which do you prefer? Do you prefer past Paradox or future Paradox? Also, who's your favorite Paradox Pokemon of all time? When playing in the Paldea region, who was your starter? Also, was the Paldea region your first region, and who was your first starter ever out of Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxley? When looking at the TCG for Pokemon because of Scarlet and Violet, what's been your favorite series so far? Do you like the first Scarlet and Violet, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, or Paradox Rift? And finally, who do you think was the best Pokemon introduced in the Paldea region and why? Also, was your mind blown when we finally hit 1,000 Pokemon on the Pokedex? Well, trainers, I want to hear from you. Did you like what you see? If you did, please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of the questions I threw at you, you really like Koraidon or Miraidon, you want me to turn an idea of yours into a video, or you want me to talk about something going on in the current events of Pokemon, then please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. As a Pokemon professor, it's my job to teach trainers like you. So, I really hope that some of you share me to other trainers. I want to meet as many of you as there are out there. Thanks for watching, trainers. Palm out.